Hello, 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 and welcome to the Let Us Talk podcast, aka the Let's Podcast Show, the show that is rated R for real and not PG for playing games. I am one of your hosts. I am Chicha, aka the Boss Lady.
And I'm the D.O.C.
All right, join us for our weekly conversations about life, marriage, culture, a little bit of everything. Get to know us, get to love us. This episode of Let Us Talk Pod Show has been sponsored by none other than Cigar Junkies. Check out our Cigar Junkies apparel at cigarjunkie.com. We are also sponsored by CJS Educational Services as well. Even if you would like to talk about a sponsorship, please hit us up. Now, for today's topic, I'm just going to throw out the topic today. We're kind of talking about why do women hate men and men hate women and things of that nature. But before we get there, we do have a couple of shout outs we want to just give out before we get started. So just big shout out to the Mega Quan Show for having us on their show on Tuesday. We really do appreciate the exposure and things of that nature. And we really did enjoy the interview.
Yeah, so make sure you guys check them out. We were on this past Tuesday, so check them out. Megaquan, Megaquan, Megaquan Show. Check them out. We were the last guests on there. It was a really great time, so check that show out.
Okay, so before we get to the main topic, we got a couple of hot topics today, this week. So we got about 4 good hot topics. First hot topic we throwing out there is, I'm sorry, we just got to start with this Beyonce country album. Learned yesterday that Beyonce debuted at number 1 on the country song chart, not album chart, but song chart, for her song Texas Hold'em. And we watched and looked at the video and listened to the song, and it's different. It is different. It does have a little country twang to it, but what are your thoughts about Beyonce crossing over into the country world?
I mean, well, I would just say even beforehand, I guess we had seen everything is staged in Hollywood. Everything is controlled and planned out and executed. And I had saw, I guess, a change in her look. And for me, the look was more European looking, more white looking. She looked more like a white woman, at least from the neck up. Her skin tone appeared to be much lighter. She's already a light young lady to begin with. And then she had, I don't know if it was silver or some blonde type hair. It just looked really weird, but I guess that's the look now. But so I guess that's what led up into, now I see why she was doing that look, because she wanted to appear more European looking, because she's got this country album. And end up, the 2 singles she released did very well. And I think she set some sort of record where she's the first woman to appear on the top country charts as well as the top R&B chart. So nobody's done that. The only other black person's done that was Ray Charles. Mm-hmm. And so it's only like 5 people in the total history, and she's the only woman to do it, the first woman to do it, whether you're white or black. So, I mean, I applaud her for that in Black History Month. And she's done country songs before. So, hey, it is what it is. I mean, she's an artist. The way I look at it as, she's an artist, and she's Beyonce, and she's had enough, I guess, clout and, to do cachet, to do that sort of thing, and to take those sort of risks or whatever. It's no different than Andre 3000 coming out with that bullshit ass flute album. So,
which I did try to listen to.
That shit's some bullshit.
I can't get into it.
I mean, if you're trying to meditate and go to sleep or some shit like that, I guess that's the whole point.
Yeah.
But it was still bullshit, nonetheless.
Well, I'm happy.
But I still don't like her look. I mean, irregardless of the album, me personally, I don't like her look. And I just think that it's pushing this European standard of beauty on the low. So I do have, issues with that. But, as far as the music, hey, it is what it is.
The song is actually not that bad. I actually listened to the 16 Carriages and Texas Hold'em, and the 2 songs are actually not that bad. So, okay, shout out to B. She doing her thing. I know all the Beehive folks would be happy for and everything else. Keeping it with music. So nobody talked about this. I didn't see this on social media or anything yesterday. But Jeezy had a Tiny Desk concert, and we actually started watching that yesterday. Now I would say this: I've always been a Jeezy fan. We've both been Jeezy fans. I think we've gone to 7 of his concerts. We've met him, literally handshake with him about 3 different times. So I'm a huge fan of his music. And I enjoyed the Tiny Desk concert. I would say whatever crowd or audience they had in there, they was just horrible because they just threw off the whole vibe of him.
Well,
doing his
people
music.
don't realize Yeezy's been out almost 20 years, and so you had people, if they were in their late 20s or early 30s, they weren't listening to no Jeezy at no 8 or 9 years old. Very few kids were. I mean, I'm just saying. So they may not have really grown up with the music, and it was evident in the crowd participation because I've watched a lot of the Tiny Desk concerts, and the crowd participation is usually is part of the intimacy of doing that sort of show, and his crowd participation was horrible. The other reason why too, I noticed a lot of it was a lot of black women. And even though he does have a strong black female base, but a lot of his music is directed at messages for black men. Some of the drug dealing messages, the trapping, and things like that. So I think that was part of it too, because the energy wasn't there. I mean, at one point he was trying to do crowd participation, and the motherfuckers didn't even know the lyrics.
And he started off with Standing Ovation. And we all know Standing Ovation is a dope song. Like, that's a perfect song to start off. And it was just like nobody was clapping. So I feel like they took away from the dynamics of his Tiny Desk concert.
Yeah, but nonetheless, the music, it was cool to see a lot of those trap songs perform with live instrumentation such as flutes, cellos, and things like that. Right. So that was real cool to see that sort of thing or what have you. So, but check it out. If you guys get a chance,
NPR.
NPR, the Jeezy Tiny Desk concert.
All right, which leads us to our last hot topic of the week. So, in the last couple of weeks, we've been blessed to be able to attend activities dealing with the Super Bowl, as well as All-Star. And so last weekend, thanks to the D.O.C. over here, I was able to partake in some of those activities. So just wanted to take a few minutes to just kind of recap All-Star in your lens, and how was it, and how was it compared to Super Bowl, or how was it compared to other All-Stars and things of that nature? So,
well, just a couple observations. First and foremost, I'm glad I didn't waste my damn money on that All-Star game. We went to every event except for the celebrity game and the All-Star game.
Yeah.
So we went to every event for the All-Star. The celebrity game, I didn't even want to waste my time. I didn't even know none of them motherfuckers except for Micah Parsons and maybe one other
Jennifer
person. I don't want to see Jennifer Hudson none of that shit. So, and she was a horrible halftime performer, by the way. That was absolutely
a bad song.
Terrible.
It was a bad song.
It's supposed to be hype. I don't know. I don't know. I thought she was at a repass. But anyway, the events, we went to the rookie game. We went to the NBA Media Day. We went to the HBCU game. We went to the NBA crossover convention. And then we also went to NBA Saturday, which was the dunk contest, the skills challenge, the Steph versus Sabrina, and the dunk contest.
Oh, you forgot the practice.
And I did say we went to the practice.
I like the practice.
And so the rookie game was good. So that first Friday night, now it was cold as hell. It was a snowstorm. It was really fucked up out there. Nap really needs to get some snow removal because they did a shitty job of preparing the city, and everybody knew this storm was coming. It was only like 3 fucking inches. So for people that are experts with moving around in snow, it was bullshit. But lucky for us, we had plenty of entertainment inside the car to keep us going while we were navigating that. But we got down there in enough time, so we were able to get to our events on time. The rookie game was good. That was good the night. The next night, the NBA Media Day was real cool because for me, I got to see all of the players without paying all that money to go to the game, which I knew was going to be bullshit. The only person that didn't show up was Giannis and LeBron, and we've seen them plenty of times. So, but it was cool to see that. Got plenty of pictures. There was a lot of crowd interaction and things like that. It was real cool for the kids. If you had younger kids and took them to that. So that was a real cool experience. And then they had the HBCU game right after that. I think it was Virginia Union versus Winston-Salem. And so that was real cool. And then the dunk contest and the shit that night. That was terrible. I did like that LED floor that kept me engaged, but the skills challenge was just alright. It was cool to see Wemby in that. But if Steph and Sabrina didn't do their thing, this shit would have been terrible. I mean, Damian Lillard did win the 3-point contest, and then the dunk contest. The NBA should be fucking ashamed of themselves to have a G League dude coming in and winning it twice in a row. And the NBA did everything they could to cheat for fucking Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown dunks were fucking terrible.
Just because he wore a glove.
That shit was terrible.
His dunks are not good.
So they gonna need somebody like Ja Morant, one of the big name stars, to come back to take a risk and do it. I don't know why. Ever since LeBron punk ass said he didn't want to do it, now all the other folks don't want to do it, and so that gives them a reason to back out. But nonetheless, All-Star game, the weekend was cool. And so for me, it was two different experiences. You know, you had folks that went to all the NBA activities, and then some folks went to the parties, and then some folks went to a mixture of both. We were blessed. We went to a lot of the different parties as well. And so there were incidents of violence during the All-Star weekend. I don't know if they were connected to events or not, so I wasn't safe, so I can't really get into that. But where we went to parties downtown. We went to parties in the hood. We went to my boy Main party at Echo Lounge.
Shout out.
That was a cold-ass day party. Finesse 2 times showed up.
Freak.
So we had no problems. Everything was nothing but love. Absolutely beautiful women everywhere. It was just cold as fuck. So other than that, even the traffic wasn't that bad, except for the downtown. But luckily for us, we knew how to navigate that shit because we go back and forth to Nap quite a bit. But other than that, nothing beats the Super Bowl, though, in Vegas. I'm just fucking saying. The Super Bowl was amazing. But Nap did a good job as far as it went. What do you think?
Honestly, I think Nap did a good job hosting the All-Star weekend, especially when you think of Nap. You just think of it as a little southern city, whatever. So I think they did a good job. I agree with him with the snow stuff. Because we were walking to the places from parking lots.
That was terrible.
And literally it took me double the time to walk because the sidewalks and streets were just covered in ice. Like I seen literally people slipping. So outside of the weather aspect, I think that was dope. I was a little irritated that some places were charging way too much. Like one of our spots is Burn, a cigar spot. And they were charging like $200. $100 the first night, $200 the next night. Just to come in and smoke a stick. So I was just kind of upset about the price gouging, but it's expected. But overall, I enjoyed myself. I would say seeing some of the players up close at the practice was like real because I'm a star person. How about he did not mention we met 50 Cent on Friday?
I forgot.
Like that was epic. I got to tell him thank you for bringing Unique back, all this. So it was dope. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude. So.
He is a pretty cool dude. Like he lets you hug him, all that. Like he's a really pretty good. So I'm gonna be honest.
I wasn't hugging no nigga though.
I give All-Star Weekend about an 8.5 out of 10, and I'm only taking away because of the weather, the snow, and things of that nature. But overall, it was dope. Nothing beats Super Bowl, but All-Star was still dope. So.
Yeah, I usually don't do advertising, but shout out to 50 with the Bronson liquor. He autographed 2 bottles, so shout out to 50 for that.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes. Dope. Very dope. It only took us less than an hour to see him. So all them other celebrity things that had them long lines that was taking 2-3 hours, Kroger had it ran efficiently. So all right, so enough with our hot topics, and again, shout out to Nap for that. Let's just jump right into topic of our show. So for the past couple of weeks, Jimmy and I have just been coming across a lot of different videos from male perspective, female perspective. But the one thing I think we can agree on, that a common theme from these videos is that there are a lot of women who dislike men now. And there are a lot of men who dislike women now. And, you know, we sit back and we watch these videos. And particularly, there was one video that was shared on somebody's social media page. And this woman talked about how women, single women, and she identified single black women. I'm not identifying one race, but I'm just saying that single women. And in her video, she talked about how single women, especially women that are older, are now at a point in their lives where they are very bitter. They are bitter at the fact that they may have kids. The fathers may not be around. They may be bitter because they're not in a relationship. And what they do is they recruit other bitter women. And now you have a whole group of women who are on this I can't stand men bandwagon. And then we also seen another video where we saw a gentleman talk about all the things he hate about women, from their independence to everything. And so it just made us want to have a conversation about what is it with this whole thing of these toxic relationships, or this whole thing in society now where women hate men, men hate women, and so forth. What? Because I know you see it as well. So you work with some of these women. So,
well, for me, I've seen it on Facebook. It's a couple different things. I've seen, of course, you see on people's daily feed. You got certain people. Their whole thing is to bash their AKA, I mean, so-called baby daddy or whatever. Once again, I don't like that term. So you got that sort of thing. So you got, once again, you got situations where you got a lot of female-headed households, single parents, and they're bitter because of whatever reason the relationship didn't work out, or the guy's not actively involved with co-parenting and things like that. And then you got the other things where just people just have had bad relationships with guys for a number of reasons. And I didn't, there are Facebook groups. I've seen some of these Facebook groups, and they post like literally they bash and they just go at niggas all day. Then on the flip side, you got these guys that they literally take shots at women all day. They ain't nothing but bitches and hoes. They ratchet, they this and that. And it's almost borderline the hatred that they spewing for women is almost, to me, it's almost like closeted homosexuality. I mean, and we're not going to get into all that. I'm not trying to call nobody out or say somebody's in the closet, but it's just some of the venom that they have directed at women. And it's because of, once again, they either, for me, it's one or two things. They have bad relationships, obviously. These are guys who may have children, bad relationships with the mother of their children, or to me, they have a less than positive relationship with their mother. And so that's reflected in how they look at women and things like that. And so I see it out there, man. And it's a real shame because for me, I haven't been dating over 20 plus years. But when I was out there, I always, when you go through and dating women, for me was always, that was just didn't work out with that person.
right.
I only really dated black women. And so I did date a Puerto Rican woman in the past, so I can't, let's say I exclusively just dated black women. But for me, when it didn't work out, it wasn't right with that particular person.
Right.
So it wasn't like all black women ain't shit. Because I love my black women. I love all the shapes, sizes, colors, flavors, everything. And so for me, it was just those black. But now I see it's like this whole society of just upset single black women, and what they're doing is like they got this fucking cabal or this church, and they recruit other bitter ass black. That's how you got that Galentine bullshit, and you got all of this crazy shit, and they celebrate packs of single women going out and almost have these pseudo lesbian relationships.
Now, it would be the same with men if people didn't look at, because I agree with most of what you're saying, but the one thing is that I feel like with women, it looks that way because if men did the same thing, if men got together and did a Gaia time day, people would look at them like, oh my God, they gay, they're this, they're that. So that's why guys, I don't think to do that type of stuff. That's why women do it. Because I think if you look at single women versus single men, most single women got money. Most single women are doing well in life. They're established. They have all that. Is when you start looking at single men, it'd be the single men that be out here struggling, homeless, ain't got no food in their refrigerator, ain't got no sheets on their mattress, sleeping on the air mattress, sleeping on the floor with no curtains in the window.
I don't know what kind of nigga you know. My niggas out there sleeping.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of single niggas out here that ain't on their shit, so it ain't just single women.
But then this is the funny thing, and what's crazy, all them niggas you described, somehow they trick some girl into giving some pussy.
Yes. You got some girls sleeping on the air mattress and some nigga apartment with no sheets.
No, man, the shit is crazy out here, man. It would be really hard for me to be dating out here in this world with the social media and a lot of the negativity. One of the funniest things I heard a couple days ago was a girl was talking to a guy, and they were meeting each other for the first time. And he said he didn't have any kids. And then her next question was, so how many abortions did you pay for? That shit was the funniest shit ever. But I didn't even know that,
that's a question.
That's a question now.
Now, so if me and him were dating, just meeting each other, and I just met him, the first question on my mouth is, so how many abortions have you paid for? What type of question is that? But that's the reality that we live in now. So now when we take a step back now, we get there, we kind of got. So one of the things that you said that really is getting to my next point, you said something about single parents and things of that nature. So when we talk about where do these women and where do men get these thoughts from, let's just start from the beginning. Are toxic parents the reason why we may have so many people out here bitter when it comes to relationships? Let's just start with that first. Because a lot of stuff you pick up in your relationships, you pick up from seeing from your mom or your dad, or not seeing your mom or your dad. So
let me tell you, one thing I had a situation with one of my homies. And I think if you're a real homie, you don't have no problem checking your homies if they doing something, that you may not necessarily agree with, because y'all got that sort of relationship. Mm-hmm. And in this particular thing, I had noticed that he really dogs the mother of his children around his kids. Mm. And so I had told him, even if you got that feelings, fam, don't do that around your kids. Because at the end of the day, that's their mother. Out of anybody in life, the number one being on earth is the kid's mother. And so you can't be defaming her, putting her down mentally, emotionally, and you wonder why you have resentment from your kids, that you're getting that negative energy, because he was getting some negative energy, particularly from his sons. And so my thing was, don't do that, man. Don't engage in that sort of negative behavior in front of your kids. And when you're directing it at her, well, you just shouldn't do that, man. Mm-hmm. If you have that sort of energy, don't do it in front of the kids, man.
Ladies, that's the same.
And so, and dogging, whether it be the father of your kids or the mother of your kids, you shouldn't be doing that. Mm-hmm. So for me, because the kids are interpreting that, and for them now dysfunction becomes normalized. And so you don't want that to happen. So yeah, that does happen, man. And then that's the reason why I was talking about, it's important. And people think I was trying to demean men or women, but when you have multiple baby mothers and baby fathers, you got to have some sort of male figure or female figure. If you're a guy, you got to have those positive images so people see you doing it. If they constantly see if you're a woman and see men in and out of your life, they don't really know what structured positive relationships are. I'm just saying, they just seeing this bullshit in front of them and they think that's normal, and then they take that later on in life and they repeat the same dysfunction over and over again. And so that's what I'm getting at. And I'm not trying to be preachy or nothing like that, but for me, that's what it is. So that does go there, because I grew up with it. You grew up with that dysfunction, you think that shit is normal. And it's really not normal at all.
So basically what you're saying is that toxic parents or relationships that you see form with your parents and so forth, other people in your family, period, you will think that that's normal. If you
I'm saying is I'm just telling people, I'm not saying people are toxic. I'm really not saying that. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm coming across trying to come at somebody. But what I'm saying is just keep whatever issues you have with the other person, keep it away from the kids. Yep. That's all we saying.
And women, and I'm not bashing any sex, but
so you shouldn't be dogging them on Facebook. You shouldn't be doing that.
Exactly. And I will also say, as women, one thing that I never heard from women in my family who have relationships with different men, I never heard my aunties or even my mom, for that matter, I never really heard them bash their significant others. I never really heard my grandmother bash my grandfather. Despite whatever they had going, I never really heard women bashing the men around. So for me, I didn't grow up thinking that it was like okay or normal to just be like, oh, that nigga ain't shit, he get on my motherfucking nerve in front of my kids. I wouldn't do that. Even if Jimmy and I have something going on now, we make it a point not to be doing it around our two kids, because we don't want them to pick up and think that that's normal if we have issues. So Okay, so that's cool. How about this? How about the role that social media and reality TV plays in this whole thing of why do women hate men, men hate women? What does social media and reality, specifically reality TV more than social media? Because we used to watch the Love and Hip Hop of Atlanta and shit like that, and it was kind of toxic TV. So
yeah, I stopped. I ain't gonna lie. Initially, I had watched it when it first came on years ago. I mean, this shit's been out almost going on 20 years now, and so initially the first couple seasons of Love and Hip Hop, because it was new, you watched it, but then you saw just like the level of just negativity that was in it from the portrayal of black women, the portrayal of black men, the portrayal of rappers. It was just crazy. The portrayal of Atlanta. I mean, I didn't really like it. And so I stopped watching it. And then for me, it was just a lot of negative energy that was being portrayed. And what I saw, coupled with social media, you see people, regular people, who are now trying to live their life, recreate some of this shit through social media and live like they're living the reality TV show. So they're trying to mimic some of the shit they're doing. And they don't realize that a lot of that shit on reality is like staged and fake and scripted. Yeah. But real life is real. So when you do some bullshit, there's different type of motherfucking consequences. And so you see that. And so for me, some people call it ratchet TV. Hey, my thing is, watch what you watch. Some people like watching car accidents. You see it every day. People slow down to look at car accidents and to see that type of shit. Me personally, I don't have the time to engage in that sort of thing. But that reality TV does have an effect on, I think, especially if you're watching it all day, you don't even understand that on the unconscious level, you start to mimic it. It's no different than a kid who's into football or basketball and they watching it all day. First thing they gonna do when the game over, get the ball and go outside and try to mimic the shit that they just saw on TV. Who didn't do that? And so it's no different than reality TV. You just got to be careful with it. You can watch whatever you want to watch. I'm not trying to tell people what they shouldn't watch. But you just got to be careful because a lot of that stuff, especially with the negative stuff, my thing is, if you're watching all that bullshit, why you not watching no shit on how to get rich and how to get paid? I don't get that shit. So if you're going to dedicate that much time to bullshit and consume that much bullshit, you should also consume some positivity and try to get some more money. So that's my thing with it. So,
well, I do think I think that originally reality TV played a lot into it because you saw in a lot of those shows where when couples got into an argument or whatever, you saw that where you had like, oh, fuck that nigga, fuck that bitch, fuck this, fuck that. And then on top of that, you have people that encourage that behavior. That's why I always tell my kids, be careful who you share your information to. Because if you telling somebody all that shit that's going on, especially all the bad stuff about a person, then that's the viewpoint that they start seeing. So now you don't even realize that every time you have a conversation with certain people, it's always negative. And that stuff can seep. It's just like when you have everybody, and every female has this one friend. I think every guy has this one boy that every time you call them, the call is always negative. The call is always, they're bitching about their partner. They're bitching about a bill. There is nothing ever productive about this conversation. And before you realize it, you're like, okay, this shit it can very, very much seep in. So I think that all this shit plays a role in it. And you should be able to watch what you want to watch. But nowadays, people watch this stuff and think that it is their reality. You don't know how many fake celebrities we saw at All Star, how many fake celebrities we saw in Vegas because people somehow think that they are more than what they are because of shit that they watch on TV and on their screens. So I definitely think reality TV and social media plays into this. How about this? Feminism. Where does feminism, because feminism now has been a term of positivity and a term of negativity. Positive because I see that it empowers the women. You got your whole Me Too and all this. But on the flip side now, you do have some extreme women that are feminists that are like, fuck men, you don't need men. Do this, do this. So what are your thoughts on how does feminism play into this whole toxic thing?
Yeah, I think that for me, I think that for one, I believe if you know me personally, I've always supported big proponent of supporting women, being at the forefront of that. I've always been around strong black women. One thing about going to Indiana Academy, Northwestern, I had a chance to be around really smart black women. So for me, that's not foreign to me. So I have really no issue. Ella Baker, if you know me, that's one of my role models that I love. But this new feminism, that the one that I'm getting at, is the stuff that's like you see on social media. And what they've done is they've taken it to an extreme where it's almost like a form of hatred for men. Just like you got misogyny, which is a hatred and violence towards women, you got the opposite now, I think, well, for men. And to the point where, like I said, they're preaching this gospel of being single. Like, I was at a staff meeting, like they're celebrating fuck niggas. We don't need niggas for that is absolute crazy to me. Just because of the way we're built, whether you are straight or gay or whatever, you crave human interaction. You need that. And so if you're a heterosexual female, straight female, then you need the company of men, just like you need the company of women as your friends, platonic and all that. So it's just really crazy, and the shit is dangerous. That you see it out here, that they're promoting this stuff. They're promoting women to go have kids, get pregnant, and then go somewhere, have kids, and raise the kids by themselves, like getting the artificial insemination and all that stuff like that. It's just crazy to me, some of the stuff that I've seen, and a lot of it I think really has really gotten big because of social media. So now they have communities of people that they bring into this, and then it's usually a certain, I ain't going to get into all that, but it's usually just a certain type of woman. I hate to say it, but it's just crazy to me. The shit is crazy.
Now, what do you think? What do you see more of? Is it the misogyny of these men who quote unquote hate women, or is it this new thing of toxic masculinity? Because I kind of see both. I see equally. I see equally stuff that shows both the hatred towards women and the hatred towards men. So which one is there such thing as one is worse than the other?
No, I see both, but I think there's more towards men, and it's only just for a simple reason, because there are more women on social media than men. Okay. Women are way social media, for those who don't know, from Twitter to Instagram to Snapchat, TikTok, all that shit is ran by black women. Black women control that shit. They run that shit. And so, of course, you see more shit directed at niggas than you do at black women, because guys are just not on it. They're more consumers than actually content creators. I put it that way. All right. So, look at OnlyFans. That's all ran by women. Guys, women are the creators, and guys are just the consumers of that shit. Once again, that goes back to tricking and horn. So, but for me, it's both, but it's definitely more. I see it on my feed on black men. And it's particularly black men are getting bashed, and so I ain't gonna lie. It's some women I've had to unfriend them because it just some of the shit they're spewing is just off the chain. And I don't go back and forth with people on social media, so you'll never see me do that. You can say what you want to say, but if it's just to a level or it's just some bullshit, I ain't got time for that shit.
Now, let me ask you this. This is one of the few last questions I want to just get out before we, call it a day. But I want to ask this because one of the things that I noticed is one of the reasons why there is so much conflict between men and women is because I've heard this on both ends. From women, I've heard that one of the reasons why they're upset with a lot of men these days is because these men don't take traditional male roles. Example, you go back to your dad. My dad was a worker. He worked. He came home. When he got paid, he took out a little money. He gave my mom the check to put in the account to pay bills, things. That's old school. But what my whole point is, you had men that pumped women gas and took care of that. They had manly roles. And then you had women who had no problem cooking their husband's dinner or boyfriend or dinner and serving them. Like this, the whole dynamic of fixing your man plate and serving your man. Like I've seen where I've been places and it's been cookouts and the woman's like, oh, I'm not fixing his plate. He can get up and fix his own plate. And then I've seen old school women be at them events. It's like, girl, no, you fix your man that plate. That's part of your role. So Does this lack of now staying with these roles, traditional roles of women and men, does that also play into a factor of why women have so much issues with men and men have so many issues with women? Because they're like, y'all don't do shit. Niggas don't do shit. Bitches don't do shit. Nobody does shit. So do you think that plays into it too?
I agree with you 1,000%. I think that, and all this is because of, social media has really accelerated. So you have people that the traditional roles are blurred. So you got this extreme, like I said, extreme feminism, looking at the whole thing that's just flipping things on its side. So who are telling women that some of the traditional roles, such as I believe that women should be at the forefront of cooking for the family. I mean, women control the health and wellness. People looking at, oh, you trying to have her best for the.
I agree with that.
No, I'm saying that women are at the forefront of controlling what her children and partner eat for well-being. You can, the way a woman cooks, she can decide on if she's gonna kill her family because of the way she's cooking. Motherfuckers gonna get diabetes. Motherfuckers overweight. So the woman controls that. Yeah. The guy goes and gets the money, and she tells this nigga, this is what I need in order to feed us in the proper way. All right? So those traditional roles need to remain the same. There are some things that women should not, like women in my house, they don't take out, just small shit, but taking out garbage. Even my wife, she'll take out the garbage if she wants to, but taking out garbage, doing lawn work, and things like that. There are some things that need to be traditional. You shouldn't see your wife on the fucking ladder. Only if she wants to now. But you shouldn't see that shit. I mean, it's just certain crazy shit that people are doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get into people, how they should do their finances, all that. That's on you. You know, how you figure that shit out, how you do. But yeah, man, I think a lot of the traditional lines have gotten blurred and it's fucked stuff up. So you got this younger generation of kids that being raised in front of you, and they literally don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do as a man or woman because they looking at these fucked up ass images.
Boys don't know how to be boy. And I know this from talking to my daughter when she says boys just talk to them any type of way. Like boys calling them bitches or boys being aggressive with them, and I'm just like, that ain't.
And that's because these young men have seen their moms being victimized.
Yeah, so it is something. Last question.
Because they think that shit normal.
Absolute last question.
But if you fuck with my daughter, that's gonna be a different thing. We don't niggas tell you about my pull-up game when you fuck with a woman in my family, so they already know what that is. I'll pull up on anybody. I ain't the hardest nigga. I ain't saying all that, but people know. We don't play with that. Not when it comes to the women.
So last question. And this question may even lead to our next topic. You never know. But last question. Do you think that this behavior, all these lines being blurred, do you think all of this also plays into a part of divorce and divorce rates and things of that nature? Do you think that is the reason why now we see so many more couples breaking up, divorcing, going their separate ways? Do you think that any of this plays into the reason why we're seeing even close people we know? Do you think that's the reason why?
I really don't know. Once again, I don't really do the two R's, as I've always said, religion and relationship, because there's a lot of factors into why people are getting divorced and things. But one thing I do notice lately with some of them funny, I want all my people to remain together. I've had female friends that went through it. I've had male friends that went through it, and that are going through it. I'm not going to even put out here in our relationship in the past 25 years like it's been perfect. Everybody goes through it. But one thing that makes us different than some other folks that have ended a divorce, I think, especially when there's no violence, there's no cheating, there's no substance abuse, no financial stuff, is that people throwing the towel too fast. You're going to hit speed bumps in a relationship, whether it be in a family relationship between two brothers, sisters, siblings, whatever. You're going to hit speed bumps. And you're going to hit potholes, man. And you may even run in a ditch. But you got to figure out a way to pull yourself out of that shit and get back on the right path. And so I think that's what's happening now, is that, especially with relationships or marriages that end within less than 5 years, because you're going to have some bumpy times. especially after that year 2 or 3, because all that honeymoon shit is over with. So you're gonna start to really see this person for who they really are and things like that. And people now are just throwing in the fucking towel. Mm-hmm. They're not willing to work. Yeah. Put the work in to do that, and it's hard to start over. So people are not willing to put the work in. And before, which is interesting, you're seeing more women who like fuck this shit. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about it ain't no violence, no domestic violence. There's no substance abuse, no financial stuff. It's just like fuck this shit. Yep. And it's because and that's the I think that extreme feminism that preaching this single shit has got. And then every woman that does that, every one of them, I follow them on social, every one of them regret it. Even the guys too. Yeah. But everyone, and it makes the guys bitter. But every last woman, they regret that shit.
Now, I'm going to just jump in for one quick second.
I know you disagree. Go
ahead. And no, it's not that I agree with everything except the part where that the reason why most of these women are doing it now leads to extreme feminism. I think what you look at is that in this day and age, now women have more resources to be able to walk away. Back in the day, you had women who were with men that had 2 and 3 families, and they openly knew that they had 2 and 3 families. But them women had no education. They had nowhere to go. They had no know-it-all to know where to go. They had no choice but to stick with a nigga who got 2, 3 families, 10 kids, all this. Nowadays, women have degrees. They're smarter. They know how to be on their own. Like, even before you and I moved in together, I had my own, you had your own. Back 30 years from now, women didn't have that. So I think what it is that you're seeing that now women have more resources and they know how to use those resources to say, hey, I don't like this setup anymore. I don't think this is for me anymore. Let me get a divorce and let me move on.
Fuck you, nigga.
I think that's what you're seeing. And I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with extreme feminism. I think feminism probably gives some people the extra push to do it and give them the support. But I don't think that's necessarily the cause. I think just women just have more resources.
That's a good point. So I appreciate that for educating me.
Right. So ladies, I let him do his thing, but I am going to say, hey, this is this. So final thoughts on this topic. And we could talk about this for hours and we can't. So final thoughts on this topic. Oh, your final thoughts. I'm sorry.
My final thoughts. I thought you said you had some final thoughts.
Your final thoughts first.
My thing is be aware of what you consume on media, whether it be social media, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Twitter is off the chain. People sleep on Twitter. Twitter is just ran by black people. Hey, Twitter is fucking off the chain. That's all I
need to get on Twitter.
If you need breaking news information, I go to Twitter before I go to any of that other shit. Black people, black women, it is off the fucking chain. That's all I got to say. But just be aware of what you consume and how much you consume it. You know, that's all I'm saying. From watching TV to watching being on social media. That's all I'm saying, because that stuff does have an effect, and you just don't want it seeping into your in your personal life. Like I said, if you're watching as much as the ratchet TV, which is fine, watch some positive shit on how to get some more money, how to do this, how to do that as well. That shit does have an effect. I'm just saying. So that's all I'm saying. Like, listen to my podcast while you driving. This is gonna have a positive effect on your life. That's all I'm saying. It's the same type of shit.
Final thoughts. My final thoughts is that, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I come from an old school background. I kid you not. My mom cooked dinner every day. Dinner was done when my dad came home from work. That is what I saw. All growing up. Even when mom was sick, she was still trying to get dinner done. So when my dad came in, there was dinner. That is what I am used to seeing. So maybe that is why I run my household the way I run my household, the way I am. I believe traditional roles are okay in some instance. I do believe that now women have more freedom because now you have education. I do believe that you should be able to work, take care of your family, have a career, do things on the side, have side gigs, do all that stuff. You should be able to do all that. And you should be able to do it with the support of your man or without the support of a man. But either way it go, I think that as you're doing it, though, just be careful of the energy that you allow to come in your hemisphere. Be careful who you let put shit in your ear every day. Be careful what you look at. Because I do think that women should not hate men. I don't think that men should hate women.
No doubt.
I think that we live in a world where we can coexist and everybody can do what they need to do on the levels that they need to do it. So,
no doubt. A shout out to all the single female head of households out there. I see y'all, and I always go. Anybody knows me, I always go out of my way to assist those sisters to do whatever they need to do, especially in the education field. When I was a professor, I used to tell them, bring your kids as long as they 8 years and above, because we're talking about sometimes some adult topics. But as long as your kids are certain, bring them to class, man. Bring them to class. I don't want you to miss class. I do anything I can to accommodate those sisters and brothers who are trying to, do the right thing with their life. But really shout out to those women out there that are doing it by themselves. A big shout out to them.
Because it's hard. It's hard with two people. I would never take away that it's hard with two people. So, with that being said, check out the Let Us Talk podcast with the Boss Lady and the D.O.C. each week. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. We are on Amazon. We are on Google. We're getting out there. We have an Instagram page. We have a TikTok page, the Let's Podcast 23 on Instagram, and the Let Us Talk podcast on TikTok. So with that being said, peace out. Love you. Love us. Learn to love us.
D.O.C. We out of here.
That's right.
Shout out to Cigar Junkies.
Shout out to Cigar Junkies and shout out to the Mega Kwana Show. Shout out to Shakanda and Kwani as well for joining us.